Welcome back. Today's story filled with drama and unexpected turns. Hit like, subscribe, and let's jump in.
My name is Thomas Reed, and here is the bizarre account of my marriage. I graduated from one of the top 2 law schools in Australia. I obtained a position with an old, established corporate agency and worked my way up from junior partner to full partner in record time. Everyone at the company knew I was going to be really successful there. I began a challenging assignment, and within a week, I was in command of it. Other lawyers and paralegals followed my instructions. One of the paralegals, Olivia Bennett, was the most gorgeous lady I'd ever seen. A natural blonde with the most intense blue eyes and a grin that would melt an iceberg. If it wasn't enough, she had an incredible physique. We were 29 years old when we met. She chased me, so I didn't have to figure out how to approach her. Now, I'm tall and attractive, but she assumed I was on the partner track when we met, and she wanted that. I was just along for the journey. At the conclusion of my first week, Lily approached me and said, "This was a busy week. Buy me a drink." I answered, "Sure." I knew I was being chased, but I wanted to see where this would go. After 2 beers, I returned to her apartment, where she delivered the best blow job I'd ever had. I offered to reciprocate, but she suggested we postpone that for the next time. I kissed her goodbye and promised to visit her on Monday. Monday was a difficult day for Lily. Isabella Turner, a very attractive attorney, spent the most of the day with me on one element of the case we were working on, indicating that she was interested in me. If I could see it, Lily did, but she couldn't do anything about it. I had a 6 p.m. meeting with a senior partner to discuss the progress of the case. Just before entering the meeting, I informed everyone that we were done for the day and would regroup on Tuesday. I spent an hour in the meeting, and when I got back to my office, 2 ladies were waiting for me. When you are an attorney and are unsure what to do, you do nothing. I stepped into my office, sat at my desk, and glanced up at the 2 ladies who had followed me there. Nobody spoke. Finally, I remarked, "Well, I'm hungry. Would either or both of you like to join me at the nearby lounge?" My treat. Lily replied yes right away, but Grace said no and fled. That's how it went with Lily. She had the appearance and physique to win every bout. After dinner, she reminded me about my Friday offer, so we returned to her apartment. She excused herself and summoned me into her bedroom. She lay on her bed, completely nude. Lily said, "Why don't you get undressed?" So I did. It was great. Lily then said, "Wow, I didn't expect you to be that good. Since you were nude, let us see how well you screw." Well, having experience makes it simpler to please ladies. I would have remained with her that night, but I would have had to return home in the morning to wash, shave, and prepare for work. Lily had a plan. She suggested she could bring a few items to my apartment and we could spend the night together. Even though I knew it was her full court push, I still enjoyed the concept. I absolutely wanted to know what it would be like to sleep with her, and I mean sleep. We slept together that night, and she woke me up with another amazing blowjob. By the end of the 2nd week, we were living together. 6 months later, before showing her the engagement ring, I presented her the prenuptial agreement. She knew she'd have to sign one since I made it a requirement of partnership in the company. It was my recommendation to the partners that the firm be safeguarded against what was about to happen to a huge proportion of the partners, and part of that protection was the inclusion of a particular clause in every prenuptial agreement. Separately, each of us received a written chastity belt. If you are detected cheating, you will depart with nothing. You may still play around, but if you are caught, you lose everything. Of course, she signed. She assumed she'd marry a wealthy guy to achieve what she desired. She was going to be wealthy with a guy who knew how to fulfill her, and she wouldn't have to cheat the pool boy or the tennis teacher on the side. For her, it was no issue. She even said that she wants to have 2 or 3 children. I loved that notion as well. It would have been lovely to know she loved me, but I honestly did not believe she did. She clearly liked me. The sex was excellent. I enjoyed being with her. She never asked for anything outlandish. Instead, she suggested holiday destinations that seemed appealing to me. I obviously cared for her, and I hoped she felt the same way about me. 3 months later, we were married and honeymooned in Madrid. Our first kid was conceived there. I told her it was okay if she wanted to retire and raise her children. She even recommended that we name our kid Ryan. I didn't like that notion. I believe that a kid should have their own identity and not be burdened with their parents' names. Lily had no father. Her mother, Margaret, got pregnant when she was in high school. She reared her all by herself. My father was a jerk who divorced my mother 18 years ago, and regrettably, she died when I was in law school. So we chose the name David, and our first kid, Ethan Reed, was born with Lily's mother there in the delivery room. Margaret was in her mid-40s, so I asked Lily if she wanted her mother to live with us. She was overjoyed when I suggested it, so we searched for a new house. We discovered a huge property on the outskirts of the city with 5 bedrooms. Fortunately, the bedroom farthest from the master also had its own bathroom, so we assigned it to Margaret. We spent little time in our bedroom, and our daughter Amelia was born 9 months after we moved there. Lily remained sexually interested in me, and as soon as she had medical clearance after Amelia was born, she was eager for intercourse. It was a Saturday, and she told her mother, "Mom, you watch the kids for a while today. I really need to have Robert screw me. It's been weeks." Her mother blushed 6 colors of scarlet. As Lily and I walked to our bedroom, I turned to her mother and said, "I'm sorry, Margaret. It must have been the hormones. I was simply trying to be kind and make her feel better." Margaret glanced at me and said, "She talks about you physically practically every day, and she's very graphic." I was becoming scarlet. It did not prevent me from sleeping with Lily. We slept all weekend. It took us a whole month before Lily became pregnant again. I was beginning to worry whether we'd have a dozen children. That issue was resolved once Benjamin was born. Lily chose to have 3 children and had her tubes shut. I had no issues with it. Our sex life remained passionate. Lily worked hard to regain her body, and with a built-in babysitter, we went out often, acting like newlyweds. I had a wonderful existence. I had a lovely, gorgeous wife who was never an issue. Our sex life was incredible. We had 3 great children, whom we both adored. I began calling Margaret Mom, which she seemed to like, and the kids loved their grandmother. Lily and Margaret never argued about anything. Work was excellent. I was a junior partner who was on his path to becoming very rich. Lily had a group of female neighborhood pals that I approved of. There were no wackos in the bunch. They all had prosperous spouses, and they all enjoyed their lifestyles and social standing. We interacted with the group, and all of the spouses were similar. They were industrious guys who cherished their families. They never mentioned infidelity or other women. I was ecstatic. Everything was perfect for the following 15 years. The children grow up. I was a full partner at work, and my wife continued to sleep with me every day. She loved my experience. I wasn't sure whether she loved me. She never mentioned it. When I told her I loved her, she kissed me before moving on to another topic. It troubled me, but I learned to deal with it. My only difficulty was a customer at work called Nathaniel Price, who inherited his father's business and money and was worth around $1.8 billion. I felt he was pompous, but he never recommended anything unlawful, and the company profited well from his business, so I put up with him. He faced a difficult commercial discussion with another corporation. In the end, I saved him over $180 million on the transaction, so he was really pleased with me. Despite the fact that the agreement was completed, he disliked the leader of the other firm. The second guy, Christopher Johnson, had a trophy wife, bleached blonde hair, and massive false breasts. You understand what I mean. Nathaniel Price planned to separate Christopher Johnson's wife, Abigail, from him. Christopher Johnson wasn't a millionaire, but Nathaniel Price was. To cut a long tale short, Abigail fell for Nathaniel Price's charm. The day after he slept with her, Nathaniel Price texted Christopher Johnson images of himself with his wife. When Christopher Johnson got the images, he was horrified. He phoned me, and I informed him that I knew nothing about his wife or the images. The guy was really distressed, so I offered to take him to lunch. He met me and brought the printed images with him. I apologized to him, since I believed my client's actions was utterly unacceptable. Of course, Christopher Johnson petitioned for divorce. Abigail declined to challenge it since she believed she was trading up financially. Sexually, she was exchanging one for another. I contacted Nathaniel Price and told him I had met with Christopher Johnson and how unhappy he was. I hoped to appeal to Nathaniel Price's compassion. He apparently didn't have any. He was so pleased that he asked me to charge him for my time and the expense of the meal. Nathaniel Price phoned me the week after Abigail's divorce was completed to discuss a prenuptial agreement. I delegated the responsibility to our family relations department. Christopher Johnson contacted back and invited me to his ex-wife's wedding shower on Friday night. I told him that was normally reserved for ladies. He promised me this one would be different. He invited a large number of guys who would please the former Mrs. Christopher Johnson. I was startled to say the least. He said that after it was over, I would be unable to talk. I informed him that I would not be attending, and I strongly recommended him to cancel the event. Later that day, another customer phoned to tell me he had just talked with Nathaniel Price and that I would never guess what he had invited him to. I said I'd bet him $1,000 that I could guess. He realized I already knew. He said Nathaniel Price provided him nude images of Abigail, and that he was coming because he was a customer. I informed him about sexually transmitted illnesses and warned him against going. I knew he was married and had met his wife when I returned home that night. I was clearly disturbed. I embraced my wife, children, and mother-in-law. I informed everyone that I had a really difficult day at work and that I loved them all very much. I embraced and kissed everyone, and I had tears in my eyes. After supper, Lily used her normal solution. We headed inside our bedroom. It took my mind off Abigail, who was going to face the same fate later that week, although many times over. On the following Monday, I discovered Nathaniel Price was a complete scoundrel. First, he sent a video of the whole occurrence to Christopher Johnson. Then he dumped Abigail. She had some clothing, but no money, jewelry, or anything. She had 3 luggage on the street corner, and that was all. She was not legally entitled to anything. They never got married, and Nathaniel Price owned or rented the jewels. That was it. Nathaniel Price apparently enjoyed what he did so much that he sought out another couple of victims. He found it in the bank's vice president, who turned down what they deemed a dangerous loan. Of course, my view was in line with that of the bank. The loan was just part of the equation. Michael Hart, the bank's vice president, had abandoned his wife for a younger model. He married another trophy bride who had large false breasts but long jet black hair and was 25 years younger than him. Michael Hart was presumably valued about $15 million. Nathaniel Price was still worth $1 billion, with a private plane, various houses across the globe, and staff to match. As expected, the day after Nathaniel Price slept with Victoria Hart, Michael Hart got images of Nathaniel Price screwing his wife. I received the call from Michael Hart when I was still Nathaniel Price's attorney. He was more outraged than Christopher Johnson had been. I asked him whether he planned to divorce his wife. He said that he had a prenuptial agreement, and she was history. I informed him what had happened to Abigail, and he felt better. He thanked me and we hung up. A few months later, Nathaniel Price called and asked me to attend Victoria Hart's orgy. I graciously declined. That same other customer phoned me soon after, informing me that he had obtained nude images of Victoria Hart. He became considerably more interested in sleeping with Alice when she was in her mid-20s. The only downside was that there will be more males at this one. I warned him about STDs and stopped the conversation. Michael Hart received the footage the following day. He didn't see it until Monday and emailed me a copy on Saturday. Victoria Hart's clothes were all packed into 3 bags. She was officially utilized as merchandising. Following that, Nathaniel Price waited for the next couple of victims. He called my company for legal advice on a transaction he was working on. If we go forward with the agreement, he will be sued and lose. I informed him that various adjustments were necessary to make it lawful. He went crazy. He said unequivocally that unless we granted our legal permission to the agreement, he would withdraw his company. I approached the firm's managing partner, and we convened an emergency meeting of the executive committee. In the end, everyone loathed Nathaniel Price, and we were not willing to jeopardize the firm's image or survival with a foolish transaction. I was assigned the responsibility of delivering the awful news. I wondered whether Nathaniel Price was setting up Lily and me to be the third victims of his abuse and humiliation. I phoned him and explained our situation. He had another business agency lined up, and it had already been authorized. They must have been the town's stupidest attorneys. Now I needed to go home and inform Lily. Benjamin was set to graduate high school and join his elder brothers at my Alma institution, where they had both just completed their first year. Everyone was home, but I didn't believe this was a family chat. I waited until after supper. I invited Lily to come down to my home office, then locked the door. First, I told her the tale of Abigail. She was startled to learn how Abigail's story ended. I then informed her about Victoria Hart. Lily wanted to know why I was telling her these things. I informed her that Nathaniel Price attempted to pressure our company into supporting him in an unlawful transaction. I met with the remainder of the executive committee. I am a member, and we all decided that we would rather lose his business than our reputation. I then had to inform her that I suspected Nathaniel Price would try to do the same thing to her and me. Lily turned pale and said, "My head is spinning. I need to lay down. The only thing that will help is you screwing me." So I screwed Lily's brains out. I believe it genuinely helped me feel better. Because I purposefully mentioned Nathaniel Price's little issue earlier, I was unable to compete monetarily with him, but I was the obvious sexual winner. Also, we were not impoverished. Not only was I a senior partner at a famous corporate firm, but I was also the obvious choice to become managing director in a few years. Still, the following day, I was anxious. We were going to a charity function Friday night, so I drove home after my tuxedo fitting to drive Lily and me there. When I saw Lily in her black and silver evening gown, I became delighted. I was beginning to worry, would Nathaniel Price attend the function, and would my wife promote herself to this billionaire? When we left the home, both of our boys whistled at their mother. Amelia's question, "Who are you trying to impress, Mom?" made me nervous in the drive. I reminded Lily of the tales I told her about Abigail and Victoria Hart. She giggled and assured me not to worry. She responded, "I saw how delighted you were when you saw me in this outfit. I'm hoping for more affection when we get home tonight." I relaxed again. When we arrived at the event, Nathaniel Price was standing at the entrance. I attempted to ignore him, but he approached me and said, "Jim, it's good to see you. No hard feelings about my change of firms, I hope. Who is this absolutely beautiful woman you have with you?" I was not going to respond, but Lily replied, "I am his wife, Lily Grant." He said, "Oh, it can't be right. You are much more precious than gold." I cut the bullshit and pulled Lily with me. She was unhappy because I hauled her away. We heard Nathaniel Price say, "Save me a dance, Lily." Lily was ready to shout at me when I told her, "Lily, he is after you. If you go with him, you will end up like the other two victims. Are you going to throw away your family for that?" She was angry and stated, "I'm getting a drink." Nathaniel Price saw her go over to the bar and followed her there. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but she smiled and touched his arm. I was certain I'd lost her. What was I going to tell the kids? I simply observed them converse to each other. Head murmur into her ear and touch her. I chose to stroll across at this point. I had nothing to lose. "Having fun, dear?" I asked Lily. She responded, "Oh, Nathaniel Price's first name was telling me some very amusing stories." I said, "Lucky you. He only told me filthy perv tales." Lily looked at me and said, "Why don't you go have a drink, Robert? Nathaniel Price and I are going to dance." I followed them to the dance floor and saw him place both hands on my wife's buttocks. I was about to interrupt her, but she appeared more into it, whispering in his ear. I could only understand the last two things she uttered to him: "Screw me." I approached him, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "Do you mind if I have a last dance with my future ex-wife?" I began dancing with her, and she asked, "Oh, are you divorcing me for dancing?" I said, "No, Lily, you'll have to wait till tomorrow when he brings me the images of him banging you. Later tonight, he'll file on Monday when the courts are open." Lily glanced at me, obviously furious, and said, "I'm not sure what pile of garbage he gave you, but if you go with him, you'll have a few nice months before being humiliated. It isn't too late. Leave with me now, and I will put this behind us." She asked, "Oh, would you put this behind us?" He informed me about Abigail and Alice. Those things never occurred. You're making all of this up to prevent me from becoming wealthy. Look, I felt him while we danced, and you have him beat, so we'll see you periodically and have sex. I responded, "Lily, you have lost your mind. If you go with him tonight, our marriage will be finished. I'm going immediately. Are you joining me or throwing your life away with him?" She didn't even respond. She just stepped away, grabbed Nathaniel Price's arm, and French kissed him in front of everyone. So I left. I was home by 10 p.m. Everyone was in the living room, watching television. Amelia inquired, "Where is Mom?" It was going to be horrible. I responded, "Please turn off the TV." The kids all asked, "Is Mom all right?" I said, "Physically, she is well. Please do not interrupt me. I'll tell you everything. Your mother has chosen to abandon me and go away with a millionaire." Amelia went berserk. She exclaimed, "What the hell? Where is she? I am phoning her." I said, "She may not respond. If she doesn't, I have a lengthy tale that will explain everything better." Amazingly, she answered Amelia's call. Amelia said, "Mom, where are you? Why did Daddy claim you had left him? Are you out of your mind? Do not tell me to mind my language, you foolish witch. Who lives with you? Go to hell. I am not living with a stupid bimbo." "Of course you're a bimbo. You are dumping Dad for money. You are the definition of a bimbo. Screw you. Drop dead." Amelia hung up and began crying. I sat down next to her on the sofa and embraced her. Benjamin, her constant defender at school, joined her on the opposite side to hold her. Margaret stopped by and held her head. I asked her to sit on my lap so she could be closer to me. I glanced up at Nathaniel Price and said, "Sorry, Nathaniel Price, there's no room at the inn." So we changed the seating and I gave the youngsters the whole Nathaniel Price narrative, including Abigail and Alice. Amelia vomited up when she learned about Abigail and Alice's humiliation. She said, "I have to tell this to Mom." I said, "I did tell Mom, but she chose not to believe me." Amelia said, "So we've lost her." I said, "Well, if Nathaniel Price is true to form, he will send images of himself banging your mother to my work address sometime tomorrow morning. I can log in from home, so I will look for them. And you are welcome to view them." I glanced at Margaret and said, "Mom, I am sorry. I tried." Amelia, still agitated, said, "So what's going to happen, Daddy?" I said, "Well, it's summer vacation, so we'll all have a few months to acclimate. If you want me to be home all day, I can make that happen. If not, things will continue as they have for the rest of your lives. I'll be home every day. Grandma will be here." Margaret said, "You're not throwing me out?" I asked, "Mom, please. You are a crucial part of our family. When I asked Lily if she wanted you to live with us, I was making a lifelong commitment. I keep my obligations. Besides, I just lost my wife. I do not want to lose anybody else." I began crying. The children and Margaret all embraced me. I embraced back like my life depended on it. I said, "Are there any other questions?" Amelia said, "So, I suppose you're going to divorce Mom?" I said, "If I receive those images tomorrow, certainly. If not, probably." Amelia wondered, "What if she comes home tomorrow and asks you to forgive her?" I said, "Show of hands, if that happens, who wants me to forgive her?" Amelia was the only one on hand. Not even Lily's mother, Margaret, voted for her. I continued, "If she comes back, I'll consider it for you, sweetheart." Amelia grabbed me and wept, adding, "You always put the family first. Daddy, I love you." I said, "I wish Mom had told me she loved me." Amelia asked, "What?" "She said she loved you, Daddy." I said, "Not once in our whole relationship. Not once. I told it to her many times, but she never responded. I told them, your mother married me because everyone in the company knew I was going to be a huge success there. As a happy aside, she desired a pleasant living. I hoped she simply couldn't say it. It seems that she did not ever love me. Only my money. Well, I'm going to bed. It's been a difficult day for me." Amelia inquired, "Daddy, will you be able to sleep?" I answered, "Your mom and I were together for 21 years. Our 20th anniversary was approaching. I never wanted to sleep without her at my side. Even if I can't sleep, I should rest. Tomorrow will be a dreadful day. I don't know how I'd handle this without all of you." Everyone hugged me good night, and I went to bed. I set the alarm at 8 a.m. After around 2 hours of sleep, I contacted Bill, the firm's managing director, at home at 9 a.m. I told him he was lucky not to get shot. He did not comprehend. I informed him, "Nathaniel Price snatched my wife from me last night. I'm simply waiting for the images." Bill was well aware of the situation and expressed his deep regret. I informed him that I would most likely be in on Monday to begin the divorce procedure, but that I would be departing immediately thereafter. I informed him that my children were all extremely distressed, and that I would be taking at least a week off. He advised me to take as much time as I needed. I then walked inside my office. I passed the children and Margaret in the living room. I told them to wait there and I'd be right back. I entered into my workplace email, and there was a letter from Nathaniel Price with JPG files. I looked. I wasn't surprised. I printed them and logged out. I returned to the living room and held up the backside of the images. I said, "Would anybody want to view these?" Amelia said, we talked about it, and we all do. I said, I understand, but I want you to think about it. You can't unsee these once you look. They all agreed. There were 6 photographs from their sex fest. Amelia inquired, she gave you up for this. What is wrong with the witch? Margaret just shook her head. She said, I'm sorry, son. I feel like this is all my responsibility. I responded, Mom, this is not your fault at all. Margaret said, Jimmy, I was molested in high school. I never told Lily that. Since then, I've never dated. I remained away from males. I never said anything to Lily, but she must have seen my behavior. I said, no, Mom. She had a wonderful life with us for the last 19 years. This was entirely her choice. Maybe she can beat the odds. Perhaps Nathaniel Price will marry her. Amelia said, Daddy, would you take her back once he dumps her? I responded, honestly, this proves she has no feelings for me. What's stopping her from seeking for another affluent guy? Even if I did accept her back, I now understand what it means when someone says, my heart was broken because your mother broke mine. I told the kids, I'm sorry, but your mother and I are done. I will file for divorce on Monday. I am going to take a shower. Let's go out for breakfast later. I walked inside my room. Amelia chose to call her mother. She truly responded. Amelia wasted little time in asking, are you happy now, Mom? Daddy has the photographs of you and that jerk screwing. Do not lie to me. I am looking at them right now. Yes, he showed us. We requested him to. Don't tell me they aren't you. I know your face. Daddy obtained 6 photographs from that idiot. Daddy says you crushed his heart. Why did you do it? What is wrong with you? You stupid witch, you ruined our family. Amelia hung up and began weeping. Margaret embraced her, and the lads crowded around her. A few minutes later, I emerged, bathed, shaved, and dressed. I saw the weeping Calamity in the living room. I asked, what happened? I remarked, Amelia, phoning your mother may not have been a smart idea. She is not going to say what you want to hear. You're not going to persuade her of anything. She wants to marry a 60-year-old millionaire and outlast him. Your mother is 47. Maybe she intends to poison him. Margaret said, I will give her a chance. She and I will be divorced in a few months. If he marries her, she'll be set for life. If not, she'll have a couple of liters of remorse and most likely a few STDs, Amelia said, so it doesn't upset you anymore, Daddy. I said, honestly, I believe it will haunt me till the day I die. However, I have 4 other people to care for, and they are all more important than myself. So it's time for us to go to IHOP. We're heading there for 2 reasons. 1, I want pancakes, and 2nd, I doubt we'll meet any millionaires there. We went to IHOP. After we finished eating, Benjamin had a question. He continued, Dad, I'm not trying to pry, but I'm wondering about something. I understand if you'd prefer not respond. How much are you worth? I said, let me think. My participation in the business agency, plus the value of the property, retirement savings, assets, and cash on hand totals around $37 million, perhaps more. Benjamin said, so you don't have to work anymore? I said, no, I don't have to work, but I anticipate to make more than $6 million this year. I am the front-runner to be the next managing director. In the following 10 years, I will earn another $75 million. When you graduate, you will have no debt and will be well prepared for any path you choose. I left a 25% tip and we headed home. I informed the kids that I would be taking this week off, plus more if necessary. A bit later, Amelia's phone rang. She glanced at it and remarked, this is Mom. What will I do? I said, answer it and say hello. Amelia said, hello, Mom. What do you want? What is that? She continued. Did Nathaniel Price tell you that he didn't mean to send those pictures to Dad? Who the heck was he emailing photos of you screwing? I can't believe how stupid you are. I interjected, sweetheart, I don't want you to get unhappy. Your mother will keep saying weird, dumb things. It's the only way she can explain her conduct. Amelia returned to the phone and replied, yes, Daddy got me to calm down. At least he cares about us. You sold out all of us for a little sum of money that you were never going to get. What is that? Are you crazy? I am not going to mention it to Daddy. Hold on, he'll think about it. Amelia told me, Dad, Mom wants me to say this. I believe she is insane, but it is up to you to decide. She says she'd want to come visit us on Monday. And when she gets here, she apologizes, Daddy. She says she wants to have sex with you. I said, please, give me the phone. Lily, listen closely, I continued, because I'm not going to repeat this. As long as they desire to see you, you will never be barred from seeing your children. Hey, race the deal. I was about to replace the locks, but you left your keys here, so that won't be required. If you want your clothing, you may take them on Monday. I won't be here Monday morning since I'll be submitting my divorce papers. I anticipate to be home by noon. If you are here, you will be served with divorce papers. In your mind, I am doing you a favor. You cannot marry Nathaniel Price while you are still married to me. What is that? I continued. Are you doing me a favor by not asking for half of my net worth? Lily, you signed a prenuptial agreement. When you screw Nathaniel Price, you lose all rights to what was once ours. Now, as for you and I having sex, that ship has gone. You and I will not have sex again. Either get accustomed to it, find someone on your side, or go without. Whatever you do, I don't care. That's your issue. What is that? Do you want the children to live with you? Well, it is beyond my control. The children are all older than 18. They may live wherever they wish. If you can persuade Nathaniel Price to let them dwell in his home, you may ask them directly. What about your mother? I informed her last night that she is a vital part of our family, and I promised her a lifelong commitment. It's different from the one you produced for me. Mine signifies something. The same thing applies to Margaret as it does to the children. If you can persuade Nathaniel Price to let her stay in his home, you may ask her. No, there's a difference. You're residing at his home. We are residing at the Grant family house. Goodbye, Lily. Then Amelia remarked, well, I guess you're quite pleased with Daddy's response. By the way, don't spend your time convincing him to let us live with you. Neither of us is leaving Daddy. I added, oh, you want to hear it from all of them. Wait, they'll put you on speaker. Do you want to live with this foolish bimbo? Yes, Mom, they all said. No, Amelia said. But I'll tell you what, if you can persuade Nathaniel Price to let us reside there, have him phone us and tell us so, and we will reconsider. I will not hold my breath. So long, loser. Amelia hung up the telephone. We had a nice Saturday and Sunday. When I went for work Monday morning, the kids inquired whether they needed to let their mother in if she arrived. I told them I'd be back by noon, and they could tell her to come back then. You can always tell her she should have called first, I joked. If you're worried, you should call the police and then me. I've already taken care of removing Lily from all the financial matters. I left $600 in our old bank account, and everything else is unavailable to her. Bill, our managing director, had called our family law experts, and they were ready for me as soon as I walked in. I had the documents ready, and in no time, I requested them to bill me immediately. They said Bill had notified them that whatever I needed was free of charge, so I thanked them and went. I arrived home at 11:15 a.m., and Lily was waiting inside Nathaniel Price's limo. She came out to welcome me and approached me to embrace me, but I stiff-armed her, and she stopped dead in her tracks. I said, let me tell the kids I'm home, and then I'll let you in. I walked in and asked the kids, does anyone want to serve their mom the divorce papers? Margaret agreed to do it. What does she have to do? She inquired. I advised Margaret give her this envelope and say, Lily Grant, you have been served. Then I will take your picture, and you will sign a form saying what you did. I opened the door and let Lily in, and the kids stayed as far away as they could. Margaret approached Lily, handed her the papers, and said, Lily Grant, you have been served, which I recorded on video. Margaret then smacked Lily in the face and screamed, I'm ashamed to be your mother. The kids avoided her, and Lily glanced at me and said, well, how about you and I go lie down for a while? I glanced at Lily and said, there are suitcases on the bed for your clothes, take them and get out of my sight. I waited at the doorway, watching her pack, as she searched for her jewelry. I told her, I decided to let Amelia and Margaret have your jewelry, I will mail you anything they don't want. Lily said, it's my jewelry. I responded, well, based on the prenuptial agreement, when you screwed Nathaniel Price, you lost the jewelry. If you need money, you can always sell your engagement ring, which you're not even wearing. She assured me, I don't need money, Nathaniel Price is so wealthy. I responded, then have him replace any items for you. She said, but you gave me those things. I responded, it can't be sentimental value if you never cared for me. You're mad now, aren't you? She said, how can you say that? I responded, because, Lily, in almost 21 years, you never once told me that you loved me. She glanced down and started packing, and I brought her baggage to the front door. I looked at Lily and said, I'm not throwing you out. If you want to talk to your children, you can spend as much time as you need. The youngsters moved away from her, and Lily looked at me with tears in her eyes. I couldn't help but say, now you know what it's like to have your heart broken. She sent the limo driver to collect her baggage, and she was gone. I glanced at the family and said, anybody want a beer? We all had one, the boys asked for another, and I told them they could have one after lunch, so we cooked sandwiches and everyone had a second drink. As I sat there, I realized about the jewelry. I pulled out a huge box of Lily's jewelry for Margaret and Amelia to look at, and they both spotted some items they liked. Benjamin said, so, what are you going to do, Dad? I asked, about what? Benjamin said, women. Dating. You're still young, Pop. I responded, I tell you what, son. Why don't you and Lucas do the dating when it comes to women? I glanced at Amelia and said, I'm sorry, sweetheart. You can also date if you want. Amelia responded, I might as well. I'm never going to find a man as good as you were, Dad. I responded, nonsense. You're all young. You will find many people in life, and you'll pick the right one for yourself. Amelia said, you didn't, Daddy. I responded, actually, I did pick the right person. If it wasn't for Nathaniel Price going after Lily, we'd still be married. Amelia said, but she didn't love you, Daddy. I responded, maybe she just needed more time. I don't know. Until Friday night, I didn't have one unhappy day with your mother. Listen, all of you, if she calls you, you should talk to her. She is your mother, kids, and your daughter. Margaret, nobody is perfect. Even if they end up married, Lily will still need her family. Amelia said, what about you, Daddy? I said, Lily and I are no longer family. We had a nice summer. In September, the kids returned to college, Lucas had his first year, and Benjamin and Amelia began their second. Margaret and I drove them back and got them a small car to share at school. We said our goodbyes, and I felt terrible. Margaret noticed and said she was worried about me. I responded, I would not lie to you, Margaret. I don't know how I'm going to go on without the kids around. We stopped for dinner on the way home, had a great meal, and had a really good chat. When we got back to the vehicle, I said, I'm grateful that you're with me, and I broke down and wept. It took about 15 minutes for me to feel comfortable enough to drive. I apologized to Margaret. She responded, you never needed to apologize to me about anything. We came home late, and Margaret remarked, how about a little scotch? I responded, did you become a scotch drinker? Margaret remarked, I think we both need it. I said, I'm sorry, Margaret. Did I upset you? Margaret said, the only thing that upsets me is seeing you in pain. I said, I love you, Mom. Margaret said, I love you, too, son. So we each had a scotch, then another, till it dawned on me, if I don't go to bed, you'll fall asleep at the dining room table where we were drinking. The report informed me that my divorce would be finalized on the Monday before Thanksgiving. I was working on a major legal case that would be the pinnacle of my career, but this week had diverted my attention. When I spoke with the kids on the phone, they could tell I was sounding better, and I told them Margaret was a big help to me. I contacted my client, who had attended the 2 previous sex fests on that Monday, and asked if he had received the invitation to my ex-wife's event. He was reluctant to respond, so I knew he had it. I assured him it was okay, and I didn't mind, and I encouraged him to give it to me. On Tuesday, the kids arrived home, and I requested everyone to sit because I had something important to speak. After everyone had settled down, I said, I have some news, and please don't interrupt. My divorce was finalized yesterday. I said quietly, please, no comments yet. I have some news and a request. I have a client who attended the orgies of the 2 previous women that Nathaniel Price humiliated. I convinced him to send me the email invitation he received to your mother's event this Friday night. Nathaniel Price calls it a bridal shower. I copied it out, along with the linked images Nathaniel Price puts out to get men to attend, and presented it to the kids, saying, see for yourselves. They all looked at the email and the photographs and wondered, is she crazy? She posed for these photos. I corrected myself, I doubt she posed for the email. I think Nathaniel Price just fed her his crap about how beautiful she is and got her to pose nude for him. I hate to ask you, Amelia, but you've had the most communication with your mother. Would you call her and see if she'd meet you so you could show her this? I don't think she'd see me or believe me. Obviously, this has to be before Friday night. If you meet her somewhere else, I'll ask you to bring your brothers with you. I'd be concerned about your safety outside the house. Amelia said, I'll call her right now. Hello, Mom. We're all home for the holiday. Listen, Mom, I have a problem. No, I can't talk about it over the phone. I really need to see you. If you can't come here, I can meet you somewhere. The boys also want to see you, so they'll be with me. No, Saturday is no good. I really need to see you immediately. I can't talk to anyone else about it. I really need you, Mom. Of course, you can come here. When we said goodbye, the kids were thrilled. Margaret and I spoke for a bit, and I said, "Are you upset about the email I showed tonight?" Margaret responded, "I know it's crazy, but it reminded me of when I was assaulted. That's what's going to happen to Lily." She started to cry. I embraced Margaret and added, "With the kids' help, we're all going to try to keep that from happening." At 11 a.m., the doorbell rang. Amelia opened the door and said, "Hi, Mom. Thanks for coming. Please come in and sit down in the kitchen. I have a big problem, Mom. It's your blindness. Nathaniel Price sent out this email on Monday. Please read it." Lily said, "This isn't real. Who made this up?" Amelia said, "Mom, here are the pictures he sent with it." Lily said, "Where did you get these from?" Amelia responded, "Mom, Nathaniel Price sent them with the email. You know he took those of you. He's setting you up to get even with Daddy. He's a scumbag who did this to 2 other women before you. On Friday night, you're going to be the 3rd. He waits until the divorce is final and then ruins you by sending a video of your destruction to Daddy. On Saturday, Daddy has a copy of the video Nathaniel Price sent to Victoria Hart's husband. Mom, he's going to humiliate Lily responded, "So, James, you and I are now divorced. Are you saying you will take me back and remarry me?" I chose to lie to preserve her life, telling her, "Lily, I would, but we're trying to save your life." Lily raised her voice, "No, you're not. You want to save your father, cheat me out of marrying a billionaire. Nice try." Lily dashed out the door, followed by the kids, who were yelling at Mom's car. I saw the car drive away, and they returned inside, clearly upset. I said, "I'm sorry, kids. I just told Margaret that I lied to your mom to try to save her. I was going to lock her in the house, but Nathaniel Price knew she was here, and the driver would testify. I would go to jail, and Nathaniel Price would do even worse to her." Amelia said, "What's worse than what he's going to do?" I went on tell her they're going somewhere romantic on his jet, drug her, and sell her to a Mexican sex house. There are worse things than that too. When did you know she was lost? Amelia inquired. I responded when I saw how she dressed for the charity event. I was worried. I thought about faking illness and not going, but Nathaniel Price would have found a way. When I saw the way she was hanging on him at the event, I knew she had decided to trade up to a billionaire. I went on, "Amelia, I thought you were convincing her for a moment earlier, but she thinks she has a chance to be Mrs. Nathaniel Price. If on Friday, they walk into a room and see many men ready to screw her, she will think if she does this, he'll marry her." Amelia said, "What are we going to do?" I responded, "Well, when they dump her on the sidewalk on Saturday with her luggage, eventually I think she will call you. When she does, ask her where she is, and I will pick her up and bring her to a clinic for STD testing. Then I'll put her in the motel near the highway so you can visit her after we get the STD test results. Not before. I began searching for a tiny home close here where she might live. I'll buy her a little vehicle and pay her minimal expenses, but I won't let her live here until all 4 of you demand it." Amelia replied, "Thank you, Daddy. You're still paying her phone bill, aren't you?" I replied, "Yes, I am." I didn't think Nathaniel Price was going to get her a phone. So we had a very subdued Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. In front of the kids and Margaret, I called my client, who gave me the email invite Friday midday, and told him that I didn't mind that he was going on Friday night, but that if anything happened to Lily, I wouldn't sue him, I'd kill him. I told him to call me when it was over, whatever time it was. We sat around watching TV on Friday night. We were all miserable. At midnight, I got the phone call. He told me it was done. I thanked him and hung up. I told the kids. Amelia and Margaret cried. Lucas looked very upset. Benjamin got up and started pacing around the room. He was as mad as I'd ever seen him. I walked over to Benjamin, hugged him tightly, and said, "I know, son. I know." He broke down and wailed. Everyone came over to hug Benjamin, even the oldest child. I proposed, we all have one shot of scotch. Everyone had two. It was late, and I advised Amelia to charge her phone before we went to bed. I awoke on Saturday and checked my work email for Nathaniel Price's email and video, which was there waiting for me. I took a quick scan of the video, and Lily went along with everything. When the kids got up, I told them I got the video, did a quick scan, and it was what we expected. I said, "I don't know what time he dumps the women, but I think we will hear before noon." At 11 a.m., Amelia's phone called. It was Lily, and I urged her to put it on speaker. Lily responded, "You were right. You were right about everything. I was so stupid." I replied, "Okay, we're on our way. Tell me where you are, and he'll come get you." Lily responded, "Mom, would you please come with James to get me? I'm in front of the Hilton." I said, "We're on our way." We didn't say much in the vehicle. We went up to the hotel, where Lily was sitting on her suitcase. I parked up next to her and began packing the trunk. Margaret got out, unlocked the back door, and Lily climbed in. I phoned the kids and told them we had her. Lily responded, "Thank you for coming. I know you didn't have to." I responded, "You're still paying the phone bill, aren't you?" Lily agreed, "That's right." She said, "So, whose room will I be in?" I corrected myself, "You're getting ahead of yourself. Our first stop is a clinic to have you tested for STDs, Lily said. "I don't have any diseases." I responded, "Oh really? Did you get a health certificate from all the men who screwed you last night?" One of the men who was there called me last night and told me what happened. Still, if you don't believe that, I guess we can watch the video that Nathaniel Price emailed me this morning. Lily began to weep and whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." I responded, "Well, that's a start. Remember to apologize to our children after we go to the clinic. I'm putting you up in a motel near the highway by the house. You can't have contact with the children until you get a clean bill of health. After that, you have no money and have been out of the job market for 21 years. Either I support you or you go down the drain." Lily inquired, "So after I get a clean bill of health, I can come home?" I corrected myself. I told everyone that I would buy you a small house near us and get you a small car. The only way I would allow you to live in the family home is if all four of them demand it. Lily said, "So, Mom, what do you think?" Margaret responded honestly, "I would have been happy if you died last night. Maybe you still will. We'd all be better off without you. However, I'm learning from James. If the children demand it, I will go along. You know, he told his client, who was there last night, that if any harm came to you, he would kill him." Lily corrected herself when I said share before. I meant that you get first dibs. I responded, "I'm glad I'm not a part of this decision. I'll tell you what, Lily, the day I'm a billionaire, then I'll screw you. Now shut up, you spoiled witch." We proceeded to the clinic, where the results would be delivered to Lily at my home address, and then we put her up in the hotel. The kids came over to say hello and check how she looked, but they maintained their distance as I had asked. Lily responded, "I hope you'll want me to live in the house again." When we returned home, Benjamin was furious, saying, "I can't believe that scumsucker is getting away with this." The kids had given her some lunch before we all left. I responded, "Well, what he did is immoral, but none of it is illegal, so I can't go after him for that." Benjamin said, "But you were going to get him, weren't you, Dad?" I responded, "I have something in the works, but I can't say anything until about the end of next week. I promise I will call all of you when I can." We obtained Lily's STD results, and she had syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. I phoned my client and informed him that he, as well as anybody he had sex with since Friday, needed to get tested. The kids left for college on Sunday, stopping to say goodbye to their mother. When we showed Lily the report, she was shocked, then angry, and we brought her to a doctor, who prescribed all of the necessary medications, which I also had to pay for, since ex-wives do not have medical insurance. At the end of the week, I filed a class action against Nathaniel Price, his corporation, and the corporate agency that certified the deal that started the whole mess with Lily. I expected $2 to $3 billion in damages when the case is finalized, which could take 2 years, but I requested that the court seize all of his tangible assets. The corporate agency imploded immediately, and their assets were also seized. When I contacted the kids on Friday and told them all the news, they were not shocked about Mom's ailments, but they were overjoyed about Nathaniel Price, who is going to the poor home. Benjamin said, "How much of his money are you going to get?" I responded, "It's too soon to tell, but I expect somewhere between $300 million to $600 million for me personally, and the same amount for my corporate agency, to which I was going to end up as the new managing partner sometime next year." The youngsters still wanted Nathaniel Price to die, but I explained that this wounded him even more. The next Monday, both Brown and Murphy phoned to congratulate me for what I was doing to Nathaniel Price, leaving only one question: where was Lily going to live? When the kids returned from their Christmas vacation, they told me that Lily had been pressuring them to let her return to the house. In the meantime, I had bought a one-bedroom bungalow near our house and leased a Toyota Corolla for Lily to drive. She wanted her old car, but I told her that it now belonged to Margaret. When the kids got home, I showed them the bungalow, and they asked if they might show it to Lily on their own. I handed them the key and departed. The kids phoned to say they were moving Lily into her new home. Thank you for watching. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and remember to like, share, and subscribe.